As a kid, there was a part of the Flash Museum that always scared me. I guess it's normal for children to be afraid of monsters. But this monster was different.
Hey everybody, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Flash Episode 3 video. Many apologies to Benedict Cumberbatch for slandering his name so many times during the episode with this new Sherlock Wells. We learned all kinds of cool details about how Cicada's dagger works, the other powers that it gives him, and got some more mysteries about what's happening in the future where Nora comes from. There are even a couple really cool Reverse Flash Easter eggs in here too you guys may have spotted. Some familiar plot twists and tropes from earlier seasons. Careful for spoilers. If you have not seen the episode yet, there's a new round of that Flash Ring giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a Flash-related comment on the video. So top 10 and Easter eggs, here we go. Starting with number 10, we got our first official look at the Flash Museum. I didn't expect to have it this soon. And what is the first thing that Nora sees when she walks in there? Reverse Flash's suit with the tachyon enhancer on it. So just remember that. It's a recurring theme through the episode. Reverse Flash Easter eggs and tropes. They put the Thinker display here. You see a lot of the common rogues. You see the Axel Trickster costume. You see Zoom's costume, Dr. Light's costume, even Savitar's costume over here. A lot of these other costumes are from Season 1, like you have Heatwave's gun, Pied Piper's gauntlets, the iron mask that Jay Garrick was forced to wear by Zoom during Season 2. So number 9, they need a little bit of help from Sherlock Wells. They bring back Air Wells from the Council of Wells. There's this big running joke about how he hated Cisco and Harrison Wells from Earth 2, but he apparently loves Barry Allen and his family and introduces us to the new version of Wells we're going to have this season. Of course, they drop a Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock reference. They do prove during the episode that he can be a good detective, but he winds up being super shady, and as a consequence of the things that they do to try and get his help, it seems like they're setting stuff up to pay off later in the season or maybe future story arcs. Like Barry needs to make a whole bunch of money really fast, so he sells off shares in Star Labs, meaning that now somebody else who bought those will have a controlling interest in Star Labs. That could wind up being a character that they pay off later this season. Remember, it's going to be 3 different story arcs, so a lot of stuff they set up now might not be paid off till the back half of the season. He also lets us know that Iris had a tattoo of Eddie on her shoulder. He says former lover, but I'm just assuming that was Eddie because we haven't seen Iris with any other dude ever in the history of the show. And apparently, there are 14 million people living in Central City. That is the biggest city in the United States. Just for reference, there's a little over 8 million people living in New York City. Number 8, we get a scene with Caitlin's mother, who is just as cold as ever. Make as many ice puns as you want anytime anything is happening with Caitlin in a scene. The good thing about this, I think, though, is that Caitlin is aware of what's going on while it's happening. She knows about her mother's deception, so it's just set up for her detective work later on. So it's almost like all the characters and all their storylines are doing detective work, which is probably the reason why this version of Wells is named Sherlock Wells, just because it's a very detective CSI-based season. Which was the whole lesson that they learned at the end of the episode. Like Nora said, we have to take him down without using our powers. Number 7, big one, the Flash TV show officially changes comic book Cicada's origin story. On the TV show, they go after David Hirsch. He does have all the kinds of fake traps and bombs, so he clearly is kind of shady, but they learn that he's not the Cicada that they've been going after. But the thing is that comic book Cicada's name is David Hirsch. So when Sherlock Wells tells them, this is your man, he's not lying because 37 other times it was David Hirsch who became Cicada eventually. We learned that TV show Cicada's real name is Orlin, which is actually the name of a Green Lantern Corps character. I don't think that they're trying to imply anything there. They just want to give him a different name, and it's a little bit of an Easter egg for Green Lantern stuff. But that's just the TV show writers saying, oh, this is going to be completely different because of what Nora did to change the timeline. They say that Cicada wasn't supposed to become Cicada till much later in the timeline. So what does that sound like? That sounds like Barry becoming the Flash earlier in Season 1 than he was originally supposed to become the Flash, because Reverse Flash needed that to happen faster so that he could get back to the future. So just remember that Reverse Flash trope of accelerating certain things in the timeline. We'll come back to that later on my list here. 5, Elongated Man and Caitlin break into her mother's lab. They have that funny Resident Evil laser grid Easter egg. They use this as a way to sort of set up Caitlin's relationship with her father and provide more context. She has all these happy memories of him when she was a child. He was a scientist who is obsessive, compulsive, a little bit like she is. Her mother implied that that kind of led to his downfall and eventual death. So we'll talk about this more as we get more clues for what's going on with him. But clearly, I think the idea is they want you to know that Caitlin really loves him and that she might be forced to choose between him and Team Flash at some point. She might care about him, but what if he winds up being a villain later on? It's sort of a better version of what they did with her during Season 3 when she sided with Savitar over Team Flash, because she had this connection to a version of Barry, but she was kind of evil, so she was giving into that. Number 4, Cicada going after Joe and Cecile to try and lay that trap for Cisco. The cool thing about this moment is that Joe West, even though he's sitting down again in a scene, knows exactly what's going on. He's not really susceptible to the torture that Cicada is trying to visit on him. They want to let you know that he knows what's going on. He knows how to handle this, but Cecile is not. And she's like freaking out about their baby and her powers are still on the fritz. So she's the one that flips her shit because Cicada implies that he's going to kill their family just to try and get at Cisco. Cisco comes rushing in, just like Barry said Nora should not do. So they're trying to show you the consequences of what happens when you drink in Superhero and don't think about what you're doing. 3, Nora's plan to save Cisco by faking his death, so she learns the lesson that Barry gave her, so they're trying to pay that off relatively quickly. She's still probably going to make a whole bunch of mistakes this season, but they just want to show you that she does learn pretty quickly. She's intelligent, so she comes up with that plan relatively quickly in that flash time moment when she slows everything down. We also learn about a whole bunch of new abilities that Cicada's dagger gives him. It gives him the ability to fly, and he's able to force grab Cisco by throwing it into his back, then calling it back to himself. So you see Cisco fly across the screen. Very cool practical effect. The flying was actually more surprising. I'm just like, how many more abilities is he going to have? He even uses the dagger to create an energy shield during that explosion, so I wouldn't be surprised if there are even more abilities that it has that we learn about in future episodes. But here's the thing though, later in the episode when he's visiting his daughter in the hospital, we see he has this really weird looking dark matter wound on him. That probably has something to do with how the dagger was created and how he has this connection to it. So I'm assuming that he's so obsessed with getting rid of metas, like he says his work isn't done, by the end of the season, that will wind up warping him so much that he looks way crazier and much more like what you would think a comic book villain would look like. 2 was Caitlin's detective montage at the end. Like I said, everybody this season gets to be a little bit of a detective, so she uses her childhood periodic table that she made up to decode the message from her father, and it's basically him trying to get her to find him. We don't know why, and then it seems like someone's watching her on the monitors. I'm assuming that that person is Sherlock Wells because of the way he sort of lurked on Nora at the end of the episode. He seems a little bit creepy, but I think that he's just supposed to be a very observant person and point out really shady stuff when he sees it. Like number 1, pointing out that Nora probably didn't come up with the idea to change the timeline by destroying the satellite, therefore creating the cicada problem this season all by herself. Somebody probably told her to do that. You should go back and change this. So another possible Reverse Flash theory is that he is in the future manipulating Nora's love for her father by giving her all these ideas that will cause her to change the timeline in a way that will benefit him later on. Because if anybody knows how to manipulate the timeline for their own benefit, it's Reverse Flash. But next week, we get to see her throw down with Barry. Something has very clearly poisoned her. I don't know if it's going to be negative speed force or something crazy like that, but very clearly they're hyping up a Flash vs. Flash battle at the stadium as an homage to Reverse Flash and Barry back from season 1 when they were running around the stadium flying at each other. So again, one more big Reverse Flash Easter egg. So you can kind of see how they're peppering him in the background before hopefully later this season we get to see his new face. Congratulations to Mel Golding. You're the giveaway winner from my last big DC video. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your details. I'll post my Flash trailer for episode 4 tomorrow. Click here for the new Iron Man Avengers 4 Armor teaser, and click here for my Arrow episode and another preview of the crossover with Stephen Amell and John Wesley's ship. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.